This is a lecture on the integumentary system. Okay, this lecture is based on Martini's chapter 4. There is just one slide that comes from chapter 18 about sensory receptors. The integumentary system includes the skin and accessory structures, the hair, glands, and nails. Here are the learning objectives. Here is your drawing assignment. It is a chunk of skin. All right, so the integumentary system. The integumentary system includes the skin and the accessory structures, the hair, the gland, and the nails. The skin has two layers, the epidermis and the dermis. Often the subcutaneous layer is included in this lecture, although strictly speaking, the subcutaneous layer is not part of the integumentary system. The integumentary system includes all four primary tissue types: the connective tissue, the epithelial tissue, the nervous tissue, and the muscle tissue. Okay, so the skin includes two layers, the superficial epidermis and the deep dermis. The epidermis is keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium. Okay, epidermis is just a special name for keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium. The epithelial cells in the epidermis are called keratinocytes. The dermis is underlying layers of loose areolar connective tissue and dense irregular connective tissue. The integumentary system functions include protecting the body from the outside environment, helping to control the body temperature, helping to sense the external environment with many sensory receptors, helping to synthesize vitamin D3, and excreting some substances in the sweat. Here is a summary slide from Martini's. On the top are the functions of the integumentary system, and then to the left we have the skin itself, the epidermis and the dermis, and to the right we have the accessory structures, the hair follicles, the exocrine glands, and the nails. So let's start speaking about the skin, in particular the epidermis. The epidermis has 4 to 5 layers or strata. From the most superficial to the deepest, they are the stratum corneum, the stratum lucidum, which is only in thick skin of the palms and the soles of the feet, the stratum granulosum, the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basale, which is a layer with stem cells. There are many mnemonics to help you memorize the strata. The one I learned was Californians love girls in string bikinis. That's very old-fashioned. There are many, many others if you Google it. The layers that I particularly want you to be familiar with are the stratum corneum, the most superficial layer, and the stratum basale, which is the layer with the stem cells and many other important cells also. The stratum basale consists of a single layer of stem cells attached to the basal lamina, which is the superficial layer of the basement membrane. Then the stem cells divide and produce daughter cells. One daughter cell stays a stem cell. The other daughter cell differentiates as it rises through the layers of the epidermis. The daughter cell is actually pushed up from underneath by more daughter cells that are being made by division of the stem cells underneath. As the daughter cells move upwards, it begins to produce large amounts of keratin. Then the nucleus and other organelles of the cell deteriorate, and the cell changes into just a cell membrane that's full of keratin. Ultimately, these cells are shed at the epidermis surface. The whole process of stem cell division, daughter cell differentiation, and final shedding usually occurs over 4 to 6 weeks, so around a month. So that was a bit of review from our epithelial lecture that we had. And just to remind you also, keratin is the most important protein in the stratum corneum, And that is that strong, tough, coiled protein that is found in the epidermis, the hair, and the nails of humans, and also forms the horns of cattle, the scales of snakes, and the feathers of birds. So that's kind of interesting. And here's a slide showing you the different layers of the epidermis. And note that this is epidermis of thick skin. So the stratum corneum is extremely thick in thick skin. The other layers are the same size in thick and thin skin, but the stratum corneum is very thick in thick skin. And this happens to be a picture of thick skin that Martini used to explain the layers of the epidermis. Just letting you know. Ordinarily, the stratum corneum on most parts of the body would not be that thick. So let me explain more about thin and thick skin. So thin skin covers the whole body, whereas thick skin only covers the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. The epidermis of thick skin, because of the really thick layer of stratum cornea, may be 6 times as thick as the epidermis of thin skin. And here in this picture, we see thin skin with just a few layers of keratin on the top. And then to the far right, we see thick skin with the really thick stratum corneum with the many layers of keratin. They have counted, and thick skin can have more than 30 layers of cells that are just membranes full of keratin in the stratum cornea. Okay, so it can be quite thick. Thin skin has hair everywhere except for the sides of the fingers and toes and some areas near mucous membranes. These areas include the lips and the external genitalia. In women, the labia majora and labia minora and the clitoris, and in men, the glans, penis, and the prepuce or foreskin. Thick skin does not have hair. So no hair on the palms of the hands or the soles of the feet. Similarly, if you look at like a cat or a dog or a mouse, on the pads of their, I guess, feet, there's no hair. So it's kind of a conserved thing that we don't have hair on our palms of our hands and the soles of our feet.